Hello, my name is Helen and I'm an English language teacher in the UK. I was also a nurse for over 30 years and I'd like to use my knowledge and skills to help you to pass OET. In this lesson, we're going to look at the layout of the letter for the writing task. I'll be showing you a simple way to remember the layout, how to address the recipient of your letter, and whether to use yours faithfully or yours sincerely, and how to close the letter. Don't forget to like and comment below the video and click the subscribe button to follow my channel. This lesson will show you how to lay out the letter for the OET writing subtest. First of all, let me show you what you'll get in this part of the test. You'll be given a set of case notes about a patient in note form, and you'll need to imagine that you have been looking after this patient. The instructions will give you some background information, such as the setting, for example, hospital or community, also your job title, and who you need to write to. You'll have 45 minutes in total to complete the task, of which the first 5 minutes is for reading only. So what do you have to do? You need to write a letter about your patient. Think of it as a written handover. There will be more information in the notes than you need, so you'll have to be able to pick out what is relevant to the person who will read your letter. You will need to expand the information given into complete sentences using correct grammar and vocabulary, and organise sentences into a logical order with paragraphs which will make sense to the recipient of the letter. The main body of your letter should be about 180 to 200 words. This means it is acceptable to be slightly over or under, but you will get a lower score if you are a long way below or above the word count. Now let's take a look at the marking criteria so that you know what you have to do to get a high score. The purpose of your letter, the reason why you're writing, needs to be obvious at the beginning. The recipient should not have to read all the way to the end before finding out that the patient is going to be discharged tomorrow and needs home visits from tomorrow afternoon. The content criteria asks you to select only the information that is appropriate to the reader and make sure that you don't leave out something important they need to know. Conciseness and clarity means an effective summary of the key points, not great long winding sentences and paragraphs where the meaning gets lost. The genre is the style of your letter, which needs to look and sound professional, polite, and stick to the facts. The letter must flow like a story so that it reads in a logical order, not jumping around back and forth like it's all mixed up. And finally, of course, it's a test of your use of English, so you'll need to use appropriate grammar, spelling, and vocabulary to show that you have a good grasp of the language. There are several ways in which we write to people. One of the most common is currently texting or messenger. Hi Simon, I'm going to be going to London next weekend. Do you want to come along for the trip? There's a new bar down Oxford Street that I was thinking we could go to because they have live music and the latest beers. Should be a real laugh. We'll have a great time. What do you think? Emma and Matt said they'd come too, so we could have a bit of a party later. Let me know by 3ish because I need to get the tickets. Love you loads. See. In this type of writing, it's perfectly normal to use slang, text abbreviations, and not to worry about spelling or grammar. That's because you would normally be sending this to a close friend or someone you know very well. Now compare that style of writing with an email. Dear Simon, I am travelling to London on Saturday the 13th of June for the weekend, and I'm wondering if you would like to join me. We will be away until Monday the 15th. I'm happy to buy the tickets. Matt and Emma will also be in London at the same time. Please let me know as soon as possible if you would like to join us. Kind regards, Chrissy. An email is most commonly used in a company or organisation, so you might be writing to a colleague, or you might send an email to a friend or family member when you have a bit more to say than a quick text or message. A third type of writing to another person is a letter, quite often to someone you have never actually met, such as this example. Dear Mr. Hughes, re-London trip, 13th to the 15th of June. I am writing to ask if you would like to join a short trip to London over the weekend of 13th to the 15th of June. Apart from myself, also present will be Mr. Matthew Jameson and Miss Emma Thompson. A visit to a new live music venue in Oxford Street will be included in the ticket price. Following this, an informal gathering is planned at another location. If you wish to be included in this offer, please respond as soon as possible so that tickets can be purchased. I look forward to hearing from you. Yours sincerely, Miss Christina Maple. A letter always starts with the recipient's name and address and the date of the letter. It immediately looks and sounds a lot more formal. The subject of the letter is highlighted and the information is organised into paragraphs. It's the kind of letter that you might have received about an interview or from your bank. And this is the type of letter that you need to write for the OET writing task. There are several acceptable ways you could arrange the visual elements of your letter, depending on what is usual in your country. I'm going to show you an easy way to remember a layout, especially if you've not written formal letters before. I'm going to use the word address to help you learn a simple format so that you can repeat it in your writing practice and produce it quickly and easily on test day. That will free up a little extra time to spend on the more important main body of the letter. Here's what the letters stand for. A is for address. D is for date. Another D is for dear. R is for re. E is for explain. S is for shutdown. And the final S is for sign. Let's take a look at each of these in more detail. First, the address and the name of the person you are writing to. The most common position used by organisations is the top left of the page, with the name first, followed by each line of the address, all aligned on the left-hand side. You could also write the name and address in the top right, with the information aligned on the left, like this, or on the right, like this. Another way of setting out each line of the address is at an angle, but this is harder to do, and it can look a mess if you start too far to the right and run out of space. There might be other formats that you are more familiar with. I suggest that you pick the one you find easiest and stick with it. The date can be written above or below the address. Make sure you leave a line space between the two. I also recommend that you write the date in full. Don't shorten it to just numbers, which can be misinterpreted. In the test, this will normally be the date of the test. On to the second D for dear. In a formal letter, you are writing to someone that you don't know, so you usually don't use their first name to address them. If you're writing to a doctor, you can use this title and their surname. It's perfectly acceptable to use the shortened form of doctor. If you're writing to a nurse, you can use their professional title or Miss or Mrs. if you're given this information. So it's title plus surname. For other professionals and non-medical recipients, it's easier to use the general titles for men and women. It can get a bit long and clumsy to write, Dear Senior Community Physiotherapy Manager. So for a man, use Mr. For women, use the title you're given, Mrs. or Miss. If you aren't told this information for a woman, you should write Ms. It's the form that we use when we don't know if a woman is married or not. And finally, what should you do if you're given a title such as Director of Child Health, but no name? This is when you should write Dear Sir or Dear Madam. Okay, let's move on to R for re. Re is an accepted shortened form of the word regarding, and it's a way of telling the reader what or who the letter is about. In this letter, we're going to use it to tell the recipient the name and age or date of birth of our patient. The precise way that you write the date of birth isn't so important, so there's no need to stress over it. Just make sure that you give either the age or date of birth, whichever is written in the notes. E is for explain, and this is going to be the main body of your letter, the part that needs to be approximately 180 to 200 words. You'll need to expand and explain why you are writing and make any requests for further treatment or care. In this lesson, we're concentrating on the layout rather than the content. The main body of the letter is covered in other videos. The shutdown is where you bring the letter to a close. This is a standard closing sentence you can use which works for every letter. If you have any further queries, please do not hesitate to contact me. Or you can say questions or concerns. They'll all work. You could also write any follow-up appointments just before this closing sentence to make a mini last paragraph. Whilst we're on the subject of paragraphs, you should leave a line space between paragraphs to make it clearer when you are changing subject. The final S is for sign-off, where you essentially say goodbye and state who you are. Remember that in the notes, it will tell you what your title is and where you work. For example, ward nurse, Burns unit, or charge nurse, Holdsworth Hospital. Use the title and work setting that you have been given. Just writing your name shows that you haven't read the notes carefully. Again, leave a space between the last paragraph and your goodbye, and another before your name. It just makes it look more clear and more professional. Note that yours sincerely has a capital Y and small s. Lots of my students can't remember when to use yours sincerely or yours faithfully. There is a simple way to remember. If you know the name of the person you are writing to and you use it to start your letter, it's yours sincerely, and there's an N in sincerely for name. If you don't know the name of the recipient and you've had to start with Dear Sir or something similar, it's yours faithfully. Just like yours sincerely, it's a capital Y and small f. And that's it. You've learned how to set out a formal letter. Here's that information again. Here's my website if you want to find out more about me, check out what I do, or you want to contact me about having one-to-one lessons. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like and comment below the video. And if you'd like to follow my channel, hit the subscribe button.